Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Run It Back, the show where we try to get things right the second time. In today's episode, we're going to be going over another Ravnica remix draft. This time, unfortunately, we didn't get the full 7-2. We went 5-3 as I did this draft on my own this morning. It went great. Was really happy with it. And we will dive into it now. As we open up Pack 1 Pick 1, we see a couple of things. One, we obviously have our audience with Tristani, and while this wasn't the best in MKM, I think it's going to be a little bit better in these sort of chaos styles, and that you're likely going to have other styles of tokens in other styles of formats. So I can think of things like the spirit tokens from Afterlife. You obviously get a plant token here. There's clue tokens. You might even be able to find something else around that makes a couple tokens here and there. So this is not that bad of a card. I also ended this draft, wanting to do something a little bit more aggressive, and so I saw the Torch the Witness. I thought that might play really well into red. We did see this Bite Down on Crime over here, which was cool, and then I also had an Auspicious Arrival, but I wanted the red card. I thought this one was particularly good. It was really good in order to get a card back from, and so we picked it here. Moving on to Pack 1, Pick 2, unfortunately we saw a dud rare here. A couple of other go late cards like the Flourishing Bloomkin, the Flotsam Jetsam, which plays pretty well in a chaos style draft. We have Murder, which is always good. Bite Down on Crime, which is good. But again, we wanted to go aggro. I went with this Auspicious Arrival, and it played out great. I was really happy with this pickup. Unfortunately, we weren't going to get anything on the wheel here. We probably could have looked over into a white-black and did an Orzhov kind of thing. But I really liked seeing what we could do in white-red. Pack 1 Pick 3, I was really disappointed as I started to scroll around. I wasn't really happy with any of these things, and then the Novice Inspector showed up, and I was like, all right, we're in there. We've got an Auspicious Arrival. We've got a Novice Inspector. This is all we've ever wanted. Pack 1 Pick 4, I did see this Drag the Canal. I didn't think we were particularly it. I looked at the case of the Trampled Garden as something that might be able to really push us over the edge and kind of keep things going. But then at that point, we're either ditching the Torch to Witness and moving into green-white, or we're playing Naya colors, and I didn't think that that's where I wanted to be. So we grabbed this Crowd Control Warden because even if we were maybe splashing a green source or whatever, we didn't necessarily need it because we could disguise this and flip it up later. We also could have looked at the Granite Witness, and I even considered the Gravestone Strider, but I think this Crowd Control Warden in a go-wide sort of Novice Inspector strategy was going to be much, much better for us. Pack 1 Pick 5, I looked at a lot of these green cards. I thought there was something to be said about these. I didn't think Hedge Whisperer or Archdruid's Charm were really where we wanted to go into, just slam into green. So there was another Bite Down on Crime. This is the third one that we passed, and mainly just because we weren't particularly ready for it. And we ended up going with this Sanitation Automaton. Now, I wouldn't necessarily suggest this is something you do in most of your drafts. If you see all these green cards, you probably should be taking one of them. But I really didn't want to go with another green deck because I've played quite a few of them already. And so we ended up going with the Sanitation Automaton because it goes in any deck. If we end in green, white, black, white, red, red, blue, whatever we end up in, this card can go in there. And it did end up making the deck. I was happy with it. Pack 1 Pick 6, we were kind of rewarded for our patience as Market Watch Phantom was great. It was great in MKM. I expect it to be great here, particularly if you end up in this red-white sort of strategy, go-wide strategy, which looked particularly strong for us. So we grabbed this and picked it up. Pack 1 Pick 7, we got this on the job. It was awesome. Super good card. Pack 1 Pick 8, we ended up taking this Griffnot Tracker mainly because there wasn't a whole lot else for us. We could have ended up taking this Airtight Alibi, but I think this was a little bit better within its format than it is it as a whole. This card played a lot better in MKM than I expected to in general. Pack 1 Pick 9, we did see this audience with Tristani Wheel, and based on everything else we saw in the pack, I thought this was the perfect time to pick it up. We already also did have at least one clue token, and we're hopefully going to be able to picking up a couple other sort of styles of tokens moving into white as well. Pack 1 Pick 10, we grabbed this Goblin Maskmaker, mainly because nothing else was that exciting. Looking back in hindsight, I probably could have taken this Unscrupulous Agent or even the Basilica Stalker just as a little bit of a speculation because they were here late. But Pack 1 Pick 11, we grabbed our 20 gems. Pack 1 Pick 12, we grabbed a black card over this Braggart. I didn't think we were playing either of them, mainly because I also at this point thought we might have moved it more so into green because the Tristani was there. Pack 1 Pick 13, we got a Crowd Control Warden as our second copy. I thought this was a pretty good one, and up until mid-pack 3, this was in our deck. We didn't end up playing it mainly for color considerations, but at least early on, this was a good sign for us. Moving to Pack 1 Pick 2, notably Boros is not in this pack, but Orzhov is, so we're going to be mainly focusing on those style of things. We could have also moved into Azorius, but we had a couple of more go-wide strategies, and Orzhov plays better with that. So as I look at this Orzhov Enforcer, I thought it was a particularly strong card. I also looked at Gilgotten Inheritance and even Justicier's Portal, but neither of these really affected the board nearly as much as the Orzhov Enforcer. We also see an Orzhov Guildgate down here, but I wanted to make sure that I had the beef, the things in Orzhov that I wanted before I got the fixing pricing for it. Also, there was a final payment, which I thought was, fine. But again, this isn't something I wanted to splash for because likely in that style of deck, it's going to need to be the pay 5 life, and it's just not worth it at that point. Pack 2, pick 2, we saw Basilica Bellhaunt, and I thought, you know what, let's go. Let's jam in here and see if this is, what's going on. If we can end up getting the Basilica Bellhaunt now and potentially wheeling this Grasping Thrall, then we're all in. Alternatively, we also looked at this Arrestor Zeal, which I thought would be particularly good, but I figured I'd go for the higher upside pick rather than a safe pick here. Pack 2, pick 3, we grabbed this Bloodmist Infiltrator, and I thought that this was going to be a really good sort of late game, even if it sacrifices our Novice Inspector or something that ends up making our 1/1 tokens. I thought that this Bloodmist Infiltrator was going to be really strong, and it turns out it was. Just a 3/1 on 3 was good. There's not a lot of random little one damage things, so in order to kill this, people were using their 2, 3, 4 damage spells or their actual kill spells, which I thought was pretty good, and in general, it was an awesome card. Pack 2, pick 4, I was looking at things like Fireblade Artist or Rakdos Guildgate, but we weren't at this point really in red at all. We only had our Torch the Witness, and so I didn't want to be jamming Rakdos cards in this deck, even though we knew that things like the Boros cards were going to be coming up in Pack 3. So we grabbed our early sort of aggressive strategy here with Prowling Caracal. This was really bad in its format because there was a lot of Afterlife cards that made, little 1/1 flyers, but in this sort of Chaos format, there's like a lot fewer of those. Obviously, there's still some. You have to watch out for them. But just 2 mana 3/1, I feel like it's strong. Pack 2, pick 5. We've got a couple of options here. Obviously, moving to like Gate Colossus. We don't have any gates yet, but we definitely could have been. We also see a Rakdos Firewheeler, which is like technically maybe in our colors, but having double black, double white, and double red all potentially on 4 seemed really stressful to me, particularly without any dual lands right now. So we passed on that. And then it's between the Summary Judgment and the Prowling Caracal. And I wanted to just be an aggressive strategy deck, and so another 3/1 would be here. I probably would take the first Summary Judgment over the third Prowling Caracal, but having 2 of these and just consistently jamming in for 3 damage on turn 3 seemed really strong to me. Pack 2, pick 6, we saw Gates Ablaze, which is another sort of gate style deck. I thought that was really fun and cool. We did end up with this 10th District Veteran, which kind of allowed things like the Prowling Caracal to have Vigilance. We also could have looked at something like Orzhov Racketeers, but I thought this was too expensive. 5 mana seemed like a lot, and there just wasn't much else for us to do. So we could have grabbed this Arrestor Zeal, and in the end, we didn't end up playing this 10th District Veteran. So looking back on it, I probably would grab this Arrestor Zeal. Having a combat trick was helpful, and we probably needed that extra little oomph to get over some of the ground blockers in a couple of our games where we lost. Pack 2, pick 7, we grabbed a removal spell, which I thought was particularly efficient, mainly just because we've got Impassioned Orator or Undercity's Embrace. Both of these cards, these other cards are fine and playable, but nothing too exciting, so we grabbed the Grotesque Demise, and we're happy to have this one. This worked particularly well in one game where somebody ended up playing a bunch of walls, 0-5s, 0-3s, 2-5s, that kind of thing, and we were able to exile one of the key ones in order to get through. Pack 2, pick 6, we grabbed this Imperious Oligarch. I was also looking like a Plague White because I thought it played really well against the Afterlife strategy, which was going to be tough for us if we needed to, but I just thought that this sort of thing, a 2/1 early on. I also knew that we had some Selesnya coming up in the next pack, which was heavy on Convoke. Not that we were going to be playing any green cards in it, but if we got any sort of mono-white Convokers, this allowed us to attack in with the Oligarch and then still use it for Convoke's second main. Pack 2, pick 9, we saw the Orzhov Guildgate wheel, and even though we also saw the final payment wheel, I found at this point we just, we were solidly in Orzhov, maybe hopefully splashing a little bit of red, so we wanted to make sure that our Orzhov Guildgate was in. Pack 2, pick 10, we got this Grasping Thrall on the wheel, which was great. This was the same pack where we picked up the Basilica Bellhaunt, hoping that this Grasping Thrall will wheel. It did, and this was great. We even got a kill out of the drain. Pack 2, pick 11, we grabbed this Justicier's Portal, particularly mainly because we have both the Grasping Thrall and the Basilica Bellhaunt. We did not end up playing this card because I thought it was a little bit too narrow and we wanted to maybe affect the board more, but in general, this kind of effect is not bad. It's better in Azorius style strategies. Pack 2, pick 12, we were looking at either a Rally to Battle or the Syndicate Messenger. I was considering this Twilight Panther, but eventually decided against it. I thought it was too low impact. I went with a Flyer mainly because we had a couple of things, plus already this on the job, and I just wanted to make sure that we had a full massive creatures before we ended up taking additional pump spells. Pack 2, pick 13, we grabbed this Gate Colossus. Pack 2, pick 14, I picked a sideboard card, even though this best of one, Destroy Artifact or Enchantment Scry one. I thought that was fine, and then we got a Rafter Demon for the last pick. Pack 3, pick 1, we opened up a Legion Warboss, maybe one of the best Boros cards in the entire set, and I thought, well, you know what? We've got lots of things that can mentor on. We want to go white anyway. This is worth a splash. There's very few things I'd be like, yes, automatically get in here, but Legion Warboss is it. Get in my deck. Pack 3, pick 2, we saw a lot of different things we could have looked at. Haunted Witness kind of plays really well. It essentially has the Afterlife one that we were looking for. Blade Instructor was also another mentor target to really sort of give all of our little things more power. Inescapable Blaze. I didn't think we really wanted this one because it's double red, but 6 damage to face when you're being the aggressive deck is pretty darn good. And then we even also have this Assure to Assemble. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature, and then it gets indestructible this turn. That was something. All in all, I went with the Hazda Marshal, and it was pretty low impact, but I did trigger a couple of times. It even ended up winning us a singular game because it needed that token with lifelink on the back swing in order to make sure and maintain that we weren't going to die. And so it was kind of worth it, but in general, this card was a little bit more low impact. Maybe I would have liked the Hunted Witness a little bit better. Pack 3, pick 1. I saw one of these Convoke cards. I thought it was going to be really strong. The other cards that we were looking for was something like Candlelight Vigil, which I wasn't that interested in. Skyline Scout. I mean, just nothing really that exciting here for us. So I grabbed this Loxodon Restore and was really happy to have it. Pack 3, pick 4. We have a couple of cards here in the Hammer Dropper, even like a Selesnya Locket, but the Intrusive Pack Beast, if I remember correctly, this was really good in its original day, and it is still really good. It is a 3/3 Vigilance for 5, which is not that good, but tap up to 2 target creatures your opponent controls when it enters the battlefield. This card was the single card that won us the most games on the turn to play down. There's lots of cards that end up helping us win, definitely cards that snowballed the game. This card hit the battlefield, and we won the game at least 3 times with this thing. It was awesome. Pack 3, pick 5, we saw a Sacred Foundry, which, at this point, we were really only playing the 2 cards in our Legion Warboss and Torch the Witness. And so being able to splash that on super light mountains is good. This is also making a plains is awesome. We did see a Command the Storm, 10th District Guard, these other sorts of things like kind of play well, but just none are nearly as powerful as a Sacred Foundry. Pack 3, pick 6. We saw a Cosmotronic Wave, which I thought was going to be something we mainly might want. We also saw something like a Veiled Shade, even like a Severed Strand. Like these are all good cards. Cosmotronic Wave, again, one that sort of wins the game the turn you cast it or doesn't do anything in your deck. But the Boros Guildgate, again, called, and I just thought, even though we were never playing this Gate Colossus, having 2 dual lands that end up playing really well with our double splash here means that we really only had to play 1 mountain. We ended up on 2 because I thought our mana was good enough as it is, but we only needed really 1 mountain at that point. We got a Fresh-Faced Recruit in Pack 3, pick 7, because this essentially is 1 and a white for the first striker. We also looked at maybe Maximize Velocity, but I thought this was a more replaceable card. We might not even play it in the first place. Getting a 2-drop that has first strike while attacking, great. Pack 3, pick 6, we ended up getting 2 more tokens here, the Sworn Companions. This is more of just a go-wide style strategy. We could have taken a Deadly Visit, but I wasn't that interested in like 5 mana, just murder. Even though it has Surveil 2 sort of targeted on it, I didn't think that that's really what we wanted. We also could have looked at Crawlstorm, but again, 5 mana seemed like a lot. I wanted to make our on-the-jobs really good, and Sworn Companions kind of played a very poor man's Legion Warboss. And so just putting this on the battlefield, getting both multi-spelling, just all of that seemed really good to me. Pack 3, pick 9. We have a boar here that I thought was probably going to be pretty playable, but in general, it just didn't make the cut. We have a lot of nothing in this pack. Pack 3, pick 10. We ended up getting the Blade Instructor on the wheel. We played this card. It was great. Love to have it. Pack 3, pick 11. I thought that this one was going to be better than Candlelight Vigil, mainly just because we could put this on our opponent's creature to make them not block, but we didn't end up playing it. Wasn't worth it. Hammer Dropper was the last card we cut out of our deck. Pack 3, pick 13, we picked up a Locket, and then we've got a green card, and eventually a Maximize Velocity. Taking a look at the deck, as you can see here, we ended on the 2 mountains plus 2 dual lands for our 2 red cards here. Even technically, these mountains help us cast the Fresh-Faced Recruit. We're mainly a white deck, but the black cards were very important, even with a double black spell here as well. And overall, I was really happy with it. We were jamming things like 1-drops on 1, namely Novice Inspector, and then we had lots and lots of 2-drops on 2, which I was really happy about. Eventually, you hit like a powerful card on 3, trying to end up getting things like Blade Instructor, and then on turn 4, we were either going to be playing things like On the Job, Grotesque Demise, or even Auspicious Arrival. Maybe sometimes getting this Loxodon Restorer down on turn 3, which works really well. If you want to have your deck featured on Run It Back, feel free to send me an email at runitbackmtg@gmail.com or a DM in Discord or in one of our public channels in the AGL server. Happy to take a look at the 17 lands data and see what you got. Next week, we're not going to be doing any drafts in the next 3 episodes. We're going to be going over some of the different spoilers that have been put out for Outlaws of Thunder Junction. So get excited, get ready. We're going to be heading to the Wild West pretty soon. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.